A warm welcome to the show. Tonight we're shining a light on 3 exhibitions at the Museum of Modern Art in Warsaw, featuring large-scale works by Julie Mehretu, modernist experiments by Maria Jarema, and a monumental installation by Minh Lan Tran. Together they explore different strands of abstraction, from modernism to contemporary immersive forms. To discuss what connects these exhibitions and why they're on view together, I'm joined by Józefina Bartyzel, Museum of Modern Art here in Warsaw. Hello and welcome, delighted to have you with us.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
So before we discuss these 3 separate exhibitions, I was wondering if there's a common thread between them.
There is one, obviously. We decided we're gonna show artists of 3 different generations with 3 different approaches, and all of them very interesting ones, to abstraction. And we wanted that to be a show that is going to connect contemporary art from Poland and all over the world. Hence, we have the icon of American abstract art, Julie Mehretu, an amazing avant-garde artist from the first part of the 20th century, Maria Jarema, together with a background of her intellectual and artistic connections with the world, and a young artist who's based in Paris, educated in London, born in Hong Kong, that is also the author of this monumental, beautiful sculpture you mentioned.
So fractured modernism is ascribed to Maria Jarema. Could you explain what is it and why was it so important?
Absolutely. Maria Jarema was born in 1908 and sadly died prematurely in 1958. So this part of art history in Poland was actually very much, specifically in the interwar era, dedicated to modernism. And this was something that was actually going on all over the world. And Maria Jarema was staying in touch with that. She was reading in 3 different languages. She had a brother who lived abroad. But as we all know, after the Second World War, the official aesthetics of Poland was the social realism, which she never converted to. She never actually cooperated with that idea. So her modernism was in a way cracked or fractured because she was living in some sort of an exile, thinking about her internal life. She was not exhibited. She was very independent. She did pay a price for her independence, but she was absolutely clear about that. But what we are showing in the exhibition also is how her works are actually in a dialogue with different works of different artists around the world. So the modernism she was thinking was also opening to different threads, to different opinions, to different currents of the artistic life, which she hasn't been presented that so far. She is very well known as a Polish artist. However, what we want to do with this exhibition created by Natalia Sielewicz and Eric de Chassé, we want to give her a proper place that she deserves in the history of art of that time. And we are very happy that this exhibition, after it closes in Warsaw, which is going to be the end of June, is also going to travel to Germany, to Lemba House, to an institution that is also focusing on the modern art, because we want Maria Jarema, with this milieu of her friends, to travel.
She also cooperated with notable artists at the time, such as Tadeusz Kantor, right? And she worked closely with the theater, one could say.
She did.
So an idea of a body is also quite important in her work, also individual versus collective. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. You're right, she was working with Tadeusz Kantor and Teatr Krikot. She was also working as a set designer, and she was creating also costumes that are on display on our exhibition. So the theme of body, the individual person, is actually present in many of her paintings. And the exhibition evolves from painting of self. So selfhood is this moment of investigation, artistic investigation. Then she moves to an intimate pair. So there is a lot about how we create ourselves in relation to other people, and then to families or communities. And this is a very interesting thread she was following that was not very present in the Polish art of that time. And she was also reading in many languages, as I mentioned, and she was also reading about the theater of that time. For example, Antonin Artaud, who was very prominent in France at the time. So this, the bodiness, this very much incarnated way of thinking, is actually very specific to Maria Jarema.
Let's move on to Julie Mehretu. She's a well-known artist, and this exhibition actually encompasses her works through different years.
That is correct.
So how did you go about amassing all of this?
It is the first exhibition of Julie Mehretu in Poland. She was very excited about that visit. We were also very excited to be able to work with her. Just on Tuesday, another exhibition of hers is going to be opening in New York. She was recently exhibiting in Paris. So there is a lot going on in terms of her art. Since she has Polish origins, which she was very vocal about, and she was actually researching about that, and historical research is a part of how she is being inspired. We decided we're gonna show different artworks from different era because she was also changing the technique. So you're gonna have monotype works that are actually gonna be on many occasions black and white. You've got paintings because the point of departure for Maria Jarema is actually a single point placed, a mark that is placed on the paper. And everything in her beautiful paintings that are actually large-scale, abstract, amazing, multi-layered paintings, it actually starts with this moment of putting a mark on a paper. So at the bottom of that creativity and how she works with paintings is actually this moment of drawing and then trying to visualize in a beautiful way how complex our reality is. Actually, the usual understanding of abstraction is that it is an artistic gesture that helps you withdraw from the reality, focus on your imagination, focus on how you feel about the world. And what is interesting, both with Jarema, also with Julie Mehretu, and with Milan Tran also, is that this artistic decision to create an abstract art is actually deeply rooted in a social engagement. So Julie Mehretu is going to be analyzing the history, for example, of Arab Spring, or two of her own countries, which is Ethiopia. And she's going to be, for example, analyzing the architecture of where strikes or massive protests would take place. Then she's going to transfer the architecture with tiny, very precise drawing. And we are talking about canvases that are going to be like 10 by 12 meters. So she's going to transfer that into the painting, and then she's working with colors, with brushes of paint. Then she's also inviting different techniques. For example, she's going to put a layer of a translucent plastic. And then you're going to see how the painting that you're actually being confronted or that you're admiring is working also with time, because when you look at that, you can see how your understanding of that develops in time. She's saying that painting is actually a temporal work of art, which is a very interesting approach, not very common, but it also gives you a lot of layers. So contrary to what we believe, abstraction being just like disorganized sort of a painting, this one is very precisely organized.
So we have these massive, large-scale paintings.
Yes.
But we also have different works of art, including the ones in Neira Bagramian's sort of frames. What makes these special?
They are actually translucent. So when you're walking around the room where they presented, you're going to have paintings on the walls. And these are canvases. And those that are actually beautifully framed by Neira Bagramian frames. This is actually recalling a beautiful tradition by Lina Bobardi, a Brazilian set designer who created this frame that would enable you to exhibit a painting both sides. And Julie Mehretu is using this because, as she's saying, it's also about time and space, her engagement, her art. So you can move around and you've got different paintings in different parts of the room. You can walk around them and you can see one through another one. And also the painting changes according to who is passing by. So the color is also working. And hence she's showing us that this abstraction is also engaging us, like this idea that it is actually, for example, it's inspired by a photo from protests in Basque country that she's working on in Photoshop, making that a base on the painting. That this moment of watching this, reading about that, you don't have to read to perceive that amazing movement and the music of those. She's very much inspired by music. So the frames enable to see different artworks from very different perspectives.
It's very, very interesting. And the third artist being featured at the museum right now is Minh Lan Tran, the youngest of them.
The youngest.
With the largest installation.
Yes, it is. On many occasions when we were opening the building, there were comments on how beautiful the staircase is. And there was a lot of questions whether we're going to be exhibiting artworks over there. And this has been the plan. And we have now, for the first time, a beautiful commission. So an artwork that was created specifically for that area by Milan Tran. It was actually created at MSN. We were able to, due to the beautiful and vast space that we have at the museum, she was working on a 19 meters long canvases created by latex. And she was working as a painter also with her body and being inspired by the music. So the artwork is very much a site-specific object. It's now being exhibited and it's going to be there until the end of the exhibition of Julie Mehretu, which is going to be the end of April. And again, originally being born in Hong Kong, Minh Tran is referring to a colonial past and the way that Vietnam, for example, was used to excavate and to use the natural resources. So she's somehow taking this gesture into her art, making this not as a gesture of oppression, but as a gesture of reflection. And it's an amazing work of art because it also changes through time during the day, because we've got this window on top of the staircase, and the artwork is also partly translucent, so you can see how the natural light of Warsaw travels through it and how it is changing. And this is the moment that is actually welcome you on the ground floor, leading you to the second floor where both of the exhibitions are located. And on the first floor, we have two exhibitions of women art that are also amazing, open till May 3rd. So there's a lot to see.
A lot, of course, going on. But just going back to Milan Tran's work for a moment longer. So it is a commentary on what was going on in Vietnam with the latex plantations and so on, right? But also a reference to a Palestinian poem by Mahmoud Darwish, if I'm not mistaken. So it is very sort of multi-dimensional in that sense as well, right, when it comes to references.
This is also this common thread for all of those three artists. The abstraction is a very careful choice, but it is rooted in how they perceive reality, and it is also considered as a vehicle to show us how turbulent our history might be and how the title of Julie Mehretu's exhibition is Kairos, Hauntological Variations. And this idea of by Jacques Derrida that you've got the past that is haunting the future, so you've got traces. And unless you think about that past and you embrace that, you're going to be actually struggling. And then possibly this will be haunting your future. So this is, again, what is happening in the artwork of Milan Tran. You've got the colonial past, you've got the artwork that is being created right now that is going to be there for the future because it's going to be also a part of the collection. So we are absolutely thrilled to be able to exhibit that.
By all means. And Józefina, before we go, this weekend marks a slow art day, so yet another reason to visit the museum aside from these amazing exhibitions. Are you planning anything special for that day?
Yes. The idea is that as a society, we tend to hurry a lot. There's a lot of things to do. We are very much interested in the world. And for example, our audiences, when we do a survey, when we ask them, what is the main obstacle of you visiting more often, they say two things. One is too many options, and the other one was not enough time. So we want to give our audiences the opportunity to focus on one artwork, to have this moment of sitting down, somehow meditating around that. Because we do understand that if you take into consideration that you're going to have 250 artworks on one floor of the museum, it might be overwhelming to see them all, and it's going to take you hours. But it is absolutely okay, and this is the main message. It's absolutely fine to come to just see one painting, one sculpture, one object for a limited amount of time. That's fine. This is also a way of being in touch with art. That's also my tradition. I work at the office, but every day I go to the galleries and I spend some time with a picture or an art object thinking, this is why we do it. And this is how amazing it is. And this is why it's a part of this exhibition. And there are beautiful stories behind every single artwork, and it's actually important to know them.
And it is a beautiful conclusion to our talk. Józefina Bartyzel, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for watching Pulse of Culture. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.